Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the qualifiers for Season 3 of European Formula Esports Series. Only two teams in this lobby in this first session of the season. And as the four drivers make their way out onto the track, it will be Red Bull versus Mercedes. But if we want to condense that down into teams, it is HDT and VRM, simplified to Hyperdrive Team and Vroom. And Singapore of all tracks to do your qualifiers is a very difficult track. Technical barriers everywhere you look, and one error is going to put you straight into the barriers. But if you can nail a lap around here, you're going to gain so much time. It's so difficult to perfect a lap around here. It's just going to make qualifying the ever more important here. Obviously, this is the first session, so we don't know what kind of average the teams are going to have to aim for. But as Pedro makes his way onto the hairpin for the first time today, we await the four cars to start their laps. Obviously, first time EFES is racing with these 2026 regulations, so let's see how well these drivers can manage their battery. I don't think Singapore is too bad on the battery. You don't really have to coast anywhere. You can just kind of burn and get away with it. There will be the HYD of Pedro to start the first runners. And Pedro makes his way down the main straight. Let's go through a lap. So turn one to the left. Hug the inside as much as you can, then back to the right. And again, hug the curb on the inside as much as possible. Excuse me. Make our way down towards turn 4. Really committed there. You can see Apex a little bit, but still gets it through. And then overtake all the way down towards turn 6. Keep through 5. And awaiting the braking zone at the end of the first sector, 26.7. We'll see how that shapes up. A little bit of a slide coming out of turn 6 into the 90-degree right-hander of turn 7. Heavy braking, but don't get too eager on the traction. And then into the next curve, hit the curve a bit too much there. Doesn't get as much rotation as he would have wanted. And he's way it down towards turn 10 now. Very hesitant on the turn in, but then awkward curve here to avoid, clobbers over it, and then heading up towards the bridge and into the hairpin he goes. Little deep there, and that's going to cost him a lot of time on this back straight where you can once again use straight mode all the way down to turn 13. Chucks it in, clobbers the curb on the inside and gets on traction nicely, shifting up the gears quickly with the new overtake mode. Let's make our way down towards chicane. Final braking zone on the track, third gear, and overtaking all the way to the line. You're going to need a big lift though into this final corner to make it round, and up to the line. Pedro will set a benchmark of a 1:29.8. I think there's a lot of time in that though, as Killian will be next across the line behind him, and he beats him by 1.2 seconds at 28.6. That is not a bad banker at all. And a bit of a tap from the wall from Balajov as Max, Killian's teammate, goes just behind him, and I don't even know how to pronounce it. I'm just going to call him Diablo. Goes just behind them with 28.7. So Pedro a bit ways off these guys, but it's very close between these three. So interesting start to qualifying. Just one and a bit tenths separating the two VRMs and the HYD. As everybody completes their first runs, and they will swiftly head back to the pit lane. An awful lot for me to commentate on currently due to the lack of cars. It is only the two teams battling it out today. They're not exactly battling against each other, they are just going for the fastest times possible, because they will take the average of all of them afterwards. And that will decide who gets put into F1, who gets put into F2, and etc. After 5.5 minutes, is the VRMs setting the benchmark. And Diablo and Pedro in particular got some time to find. Drivers swiftly putting on a new set of soft tyres. And we await for their second runs. I think Pedro will be the most antsy of them to get back out on track, because he really needs a better lap. He doesn't want to bring down HYD's average too much. And we didn't see what Killian, Max's or Diablo's laps look like, but no matter how good a lap you can get at Singapore, it seems like there is always time in it, no matter what. So many intricate corners that's easy to just lose time on, and we saw Pedro going incredibly deep at the hairpin, which would have cost him a huge amount of time. And already coming back out onto the track. So I said Pedro would be swift to want to improve his time, and I've been proven right, as he is the first of the runners for their second laps. And we know he has a lot of time in this lap if you did watch the opening lap. And this is one of 6 qualifiers that I'll be ensuing over the next 2 hours, so do be keeping up with the streams, because this is only the beginning of the qualifiers. Whether these times are way faster or way slower than the rest, we are yet to find out. But these drivers won't want to take any chances. If they can set a benchmark incredibly quickly, it might put all the other teams off a little bit. So everybody else out on track now as well. Make our way down the back straight. Pedro readies himself to start this lap. I haven't really talked about invalidations yet either, but it's not really a too bad of a track for invalidations, I will say. There is certain corners, especially turn 1, which are easy to do. Let's see how Pedro navigates his first sector. A little bit wider than he would have wanted, but gets through turn 2 nicely. And gets nicely on the power at turn 3 and boosts all the way down towards turn 4. Chucking it in, hit the apex a lot nicer that time around. And a little tap of the wall you can get away with. Burning as much battery as he dares down towards the corner. And he's only slightly improved in his first sector, but it wasn't the first sector where he lost time. So navigating through turn 7. And then swinging it back to the right for the very tricky turn 8 and gets it through nicely. Into the awkward left-hander, looked a lot more committed that time around. Can he get it through the awkward right-hander? Just about. We can get away with not hitting the curb there. This is where he lost the time last time. Into the hairpin he goes, and this time it is much better. Nicely on the power, out of the bridge. Makes his way down towards the middle sector split. And do you go around the curb or over the curb? Pedro likes the over the curb line. And coming out of turn 12, it's a dash down towards the final chicane. The 2 VRMs and his teammate Diablo is currently on their laps. They are starting them. And Pedro, can he challenge any of the top 3 with this much improved lap, I must say? He's definitely found time. Is it enough to challenge the top 3? It isn't quite, but he's a lot closer to them. Diablo, unfortunately for him, has invalidated. Max and Killian still going strong though. As Max very deep there into turn 9. You can get away with that though. As he clobbers over the curb. Into the hairpin, very nicely done. The car very stable on that Mercedes. And let's see if he's improved by any margin. He is, he's over 4 tenths up. And just on your second lap, although that looked a bit squirrely coming out of turn 11. So Killian may be losing a decent chunk of time there. Heading down towards the chicane, you can see his teammate there in the background. So can VRM extend their advantage in this qualifying session? Coming around the final two corners, Killian just about in track limits. And he'll go to even faster with a 28.2. It's a mighty first lap, and he's joined by his teammate Killian in a 28.3. So, very rapid stuff from the two VRMs. And Diablo, he invalidated his first lap, so we don't really know whether he's got an answer. Pedro certainly doesn't seem to have an answer for these two. But Diablo's ready to go again. Coming out the final corner. Turn 1 is the easiest place to invalidate here in Singapore. But he hits the curve nicely that time around. Rotating through turn 3, you can hear the Red Bull grinding to get on the power. And the rotation through turn 4 is nicely done. So Diablo maybe trying to split the two VRMs, maybe even improve his teammate's first sector with a 26.7, he does a 26.6. Into 6 and into 7. There was awkward corner on the track and that looks a little deep, hits the wall a little. Maybe got away without damage, but that was nicely done through turn 7. Into 9 we go. 4th gear, carries a lot of speed, clobbers a curve, just about gets away with it. It's a second curve as we head to the bridge, and the hairpin now locks the rears to get the cars rotated. Very committed from the Red Bull. And through the middle sector, we'll see if he's improving. He is by over 2 tenths. He's going to need to find time though if he wants to rival the top 2. It's nicely rotated into the chicane, and a tap of the wall on the exit you can just about get away with. Committed there into the final 2 corners. Is he going to challenge for top 2? No, he isn't. It's only a 28.5. That's still not a bad lap time from the Red Bull. But this is some impressive pace being set by the VRMs. And I assume we only have time for one more lap. Diablo's got to hurry back to the pit lane to make sure he can get out in time. But he should be okay. And the VRMs look in control. I'm sure if they just stop now, that would be enough to qualify them, but they won't take any chances. When we had a look riding on board with Max's lap, he had a big snap down at turn 12. So he knows he's got time in his lap. Pedro has gone out strangely early. Whether he has time, whether he thinks maybe if I mess up my first lap, I'll have time to go straight away right after. That may be some of the logic behind that. Pedro with 3 minutes and 40 seconds left on the clock, last of the runners in this session. And even in his second lap, I think we saw quite a few errors where he could have tidied up. So there's still plenty of time in his lap. It is a great track to have Singapore as your qualifiers. Really test the drivers and the teams. How well they can nail their setups, how well the car rotates, and how much straight line speed they sacrifice. It usually is 50-50 wings. So it is all about how hooked up your car can get, and so far the VRMs are looking unstoppable. As they come out for their final runs, Pedro is about to start his. And his last chance to get something out this qualifying session. Maybe trying to match what his teammate did. I think 2:28.5, that wouldn't be a bad lap time at all. So Pedro, let's see if he can improve. running on board with the Red Bull and cutting the curb at turn 1 nicely. And that looks a lot more hooked up than his previous 2 laps. He's got Mercedes in front of him, which should hopefully get out of the way. Through turn 4, doesn't hit the wall this time. Maybe even gets a little bit of a slipstream from Mercedes in front. And the first sector split, and he's improved by over a tenth. It looks a lot more hooked up, and it indeed is. So through turn 7 now. It's nicely done through there as well. Awaiting the very tricky turn 7, goes a little deep, but avoids that barrier that sticks out. As we head down towards turn 9, hugging the inside curbing and then bouncing across the inside curve. This looks very hooked up as we head towards the bridge. Into the hairpin we go, hits the apex nicely, and on the traction easily enough. So Pedro with a much better lap so far, and he's over 4 tenths up. So it should be a lap to rival his teammate Diablo. If he finds a lot of time in his final sector, he could even rival the VRMs. Heading down towards chicane, depleting every last bit of battery he has left. Nicely rotated and doesn't beat your car on the curbing, avoids the wall, and into the final corner. This looks like a nice lap from Pedro. Up to the line he will go, and he will jump his teammate by 2 milliseconds. And that will be encouraging for HYD. So Diablo the only one left to try and beat the 2 VRMs who are currently on their laps. Max heading through the first sector, currently on a 28.2, and he's finding time in that first sector. But that looks wide, and somehow he is not invalidated. It was definitely all 4 wheels off the track, but somehow the game has not picked it up. And Max, regarding that he didn't lose too much time, he can carry on with this lap. Very committed across the turn 9 curb there, and rotating it nicely through the bridge. Rotating the rears as well to get on traction. Whether that's finding him more time than the last lap, I'm not sure. And he is still finding time, and keep in mind this is where he lost his time earlier. So Max with a lot of time left to find in the final sector, and already 2 tenths up. I think we are ready to see the first 27 of the day. So into the chicane we go. He's got his teammate behind on him, but VRM are going to set one hell of a benchmark here in Singapore. Max up to the line. Hey, it says 27.6. That is a hell of a lap time from the VRM. What is his teammate doing behind? Killian up to the line will set a 28.0. That is also a brilliant lap time. And with an average of 27.8, VRM have arrived. And Max Belmont take a bow, because a 27.6 at a track like Singapore is absolute madness. It looks hooked up, and it indeed was. Diablo on a lap currently, but he's not improving unless he finds time in this last sector. But that whack of the wall is not going to find him too much. And into the final corner, he will stay with a 28.5. So HYD, they may be living on the edge with an average of 28.5. And we'll see whether that gets them into the top 10 later on in this session. But Max Belmond, a whopping 9 tenths clear of his nearest rivals. VRM with a 27.6 and a 28.0. With an average of 27.8, that is quite the benchmark to set. And as for HYD, we will see whether that is enough to qualify him later. VRM, I assume that will be enough, because if people can go faster than that, I would be amazed. But that is Lobby 1 of your qualifiers. And do keep up to date with the EFES Twitch page, because we will be seeing plenty more teams battle it out for their shots at qualifying for F1. So I am back on in Lobby 4. I'm still astounded by that lap time. That is quite something. But keep an eye out for Lobby 2, because commentating on that one will be Jaden, or English, I should say. So during Lobby 2, we will see a plenty more drivers battle it out. And I will join you again back in lobby 4, 7:30. So we'll see you then.